It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and ProSulam.com, and we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: how gardening can help grow your business. That and more coming up. Okay, this is a weird topic, I know. Gardening, business, what are you talking about, Dean? So weird. All right, well, I'm here to help you through this interesting concept. Once again, I'm here with the lazy Lunameister, and I do have my Des and my Troy as well. They're over in the kennel, but we got Luna over here just lounging about. I'm up in front enjoying the summer heat. So hot over here. It will be 100 degrees. It was 106 degrees yesterday, but guess what? Despite all of the heat, despite all of that, my garden is crushing it, right? Wow. Why in the heck am I talking about my garden? So, dude, okay. When we first got here, so I live in the country, if you don't know. I had no idea what I was doing at all. And in fact, I think we had like a couple tomato plants in the backyard of our old house, which is, super small. Every single one of them died before growing any tomatoes. And I literally had no clue what I was doing at all there. And translating that to big acreage, I still had no idea what I was doing. And so one of the things that was very apparent in being up here is that if you wanted to garden, if you wanted to produce anything, you really had to think about what you were doing. It's not just enough to go and do hard work, because everything's so spread out here. Your garden's going to be in one spot. Your animals are going to be on another spot. You really had to think in a very different way, okay? And that way is systems. So, and trust me, I did not think in this way when we arrived. And what I would do. So we had, the first thing that we really had was a chicken coop, and we built this. My father-in-law, who's super awesome, helped us to build this coop, and it probably is about 500 feet, 600 feet, maybe even more away from our house. And in order to get water to them, because there was no water system that I had built, I would have to carry a big 4-gallon jug from the house down to the coop every day. Now, during the winter, that's not so bad because it's pretty cool up here. There's not, it's not hot at all. But in the summer, it gets extremely hot. And so can you imagine carrying a 4-gallon bucket every single day down to the chickens? And then on top of that, you had to bring food and so on and so forth. Well, next, we had the garden. We had a garden. I built a big garden enclosure. And in that garden enclosure, I had several raised beds, but no water. So that meant we had to take water from the house every day down to the garden and to the chicken coop. So every single time we wanted to build something more, we wanted to build something else, what did we have to do? It literally doubled. So if we doubled what we created, like a chicken coop to a garden, then it doubled our work, right? Completely doubled our work, and it was painful. Constantly having to drag food, water, fertilizer, all this other stuff there. And so over time, I realized that this is not going to end well. There's no way I can continue to grow. There's no way I can add another garden if I don't really have a way of of bringing water to a garden or bringing water to a dog kennel or to cows and goats and sheep or anything like that, right? It wasn't going to work. And so rather than manually doing all this stuff, rather than manually bringing water all the time, I was like, screw it. You know what? I'm going to spend my time, the majority of my time during the day and even in the evening at night, digging a trench that will allow me to then bring water to actually pipe water with PVC pipe to areas that I want to bring them, right? And so I forgot how long it took me, but the ground here is very hard in the summer, and I was doing this in the middle of summer. The ground gets almost like cement here. So I went to Ace Hardware, and I went and got a pickaxe, and I got this pickaxe, rubber handle, all this other stuff, and I started every day just spending a little bit of time going from my house, digging a trench from my house all the way to the 500 plus yards or feet away to the chicken coop. And it was so difficult because the ground was so hard, and I was just chipping away, boom, 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 boom. Some days I could only get like a few feet because of how hot it was and how hard the ground was. Because sometimes I'd have to go and wet the ground ahead of time, wait for the water to seep through, and then start pickaxing again that trench. And I could only get down maybe, which is not good. You want to get down relatively deep, but I think the furthest I was able to get down was like 10 inches, which is not that great, but hey, it was working. So ended up finally digging a trench all the way to the chicken coop, running PVC pipe, put up some hose bibs. I had no clue what I was doing at all during this time, but ended up finishing, and it was spectacular. I went for when I was done, I turned on, I think it was at like 1 a.m. It was just this day, last day where I'm finishing this thing. So I had just put up done all the piping, all the hose bibs and everything like that, and I go and I turn on at like 1 a.m. The water at the chicken coop, and I was like, yes, hallelujah. It was so cool. It was the best feeling, knowing that I didn't have to lug around that thing anymore, that 4-gallon bucket. My kids didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. And this allowed the kids to actually be more involved, right? And so moving on from that, I ended up creating, so I had water going from the chicken coop to water able to go to the chicken coop, several other spots, and then this garden enclosure that I had. And so that allowed us to have a garden as well as chickens and everything like that. It was fantastic. However, the next thing was I wanted to build a really large garden area, like a 2,000 square foot garden area in this one spot right next to our house. And I ended up doing that, built out fenced off that whole area there, and fenced off that whole area. But once again, I needed to run water because I did not run water to there. And so remember, now I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to just carry water over. So everything that I'm doing now has in mind that I have to build a system for it. I have to build a water system, right? And so I build the area, and then I start digging PVC pipe. Well, that totally worked, and I was able to use it, and I actually ended up having to uproot that PVC pipe because I brought in some heavy equipment and we were changing things around. So I was like, I'm not doing that again. I ended up creating a different system using rubber hoses, and I had no idea how amazing rubber hoses. If you ever get like real rubber hoses, those things are so tough and they last forever. And so rather than running PVC pipe to this specific area as a temporary thing for now, I ran a rubber hose that had all of these little, what are those called? Like splitters. So it would split the water, and you could have two valves on each one. And so I'd have a four-way splitter and a two-way splitter, and all these different splitters that would allow me to then set up these water systems in the garden. In the garden, so that I can set up timers and all this other stuff. So, in the end, the beauty of all of this is that I have timers. It's crazy because I have timers that set off misters. I have for the chickens when it gets hot and the dogs when it gets hot. I have timers that water water both of my gardens. Timers that do and a whole water system that I don't really have to touch at all. And if I want somebody to check on them, I can easily give them like a little process sheet that says, hey, these are the things to check when you're going and checking out these water systems and make sure that they're working, right? And because of this, and because I don't have to rely on myself to water my garden, because even hand watering with a hose, even though I had it there, it just wasn't cutting it. I wasn't things weren't growing, things weren't doing well because I would forget some days. Some days I would forget, some days I wouldn't, and now it's really cool because I can't forget. The system works on its own. So now I have the time to go and build something else, and then put a water system to the next place, right? And just over and over and over again. So why is this important? It's important because when if you start gardening, you're going to see that yes, it's great to it's actually really nice and calming if you're able to water the garden yourself, but your stuff is going to grow faster, grow better when you start developing systems. If you have animals, you have a garden, everything does better when you actually have a water system, or you have a system for those pets, for those animals and stuff. The more that you're able to develop these systems around your garden, the more you're going to see growth. And the same thing is true for your business. The more that you develop systems in your business, the more you're going to have time to sit back, relax, and say, okay, what do I do next? What is the next step that I have to do in order to get to the next level, right? You're going to have, because people will be able to take those things off your hands. People will be able to take tasks off your hands so that you have the time to think about what to do next, and you just see your garden grow, your business grow over time. Really amazing, and it's that way of thinking in how can I automate this thing, or how can I, at least if I can't automate something, how do I make things easy for myself and for other people? That way of thinking, rather than taking a 4-gallon water jug and walking 500 yards with it every day and making your kids walk with it every day, how can I set up something where at least they can just go down to the place and get water there? Same thing goes for your business. How can I make it to where my sales team, all they see is just the leads that they need to talk to today, rather than all of the leads and not knowing exactly who to talk to and when? How can I make it to where my operations team only sees the customers that they need to reach out to and thank, right? That's the way of thinking that makes your business grow. Just like a garden, just like a water, it's a little watering system. It's a little system that allows your business, allows your business to grow without you. All right, so this is Dean Soto, freedomin5minutes.com. Go check that out. And also go check out prosulum.com, prosulum.com. And I will catch you again in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.